Hello everyone, we're still with this unit, the philosophy of death, in our philosophy of religion class. And I wanted to talk about Epicurus. One of you mentioned in your homework, Epicurus, who lived from 341 to 270 BC, has a very succinct philosophy of death. He says it's something we need not worry about. And the reason we need not worry about it is that he says, when we are, death is not. So while we're alive, death is not with us. And when we are not, death is not either. So either we're either alive or dead. And in either case, we don't have any sensation of death. And so it's not to cloud our thoughts. He says you should not make yourself upset about, have any anxiety about death. Several ways that people do have anxiety about death. They hanker for immortality. According to Epicurus, this is one of the ways in which people make themselves rather miserable. His philosophy of well-being, or his ethic for life, is that you should have health in the body and freedom from disturbance in the soul. And one of the ways in which people's souls are disturbed is they wish for things that they cannot have. This is something you cannot have. You cannot just wish and make it true. He says the gods are not concerned with our lives day to day. So this is what we do here has no effect on the afterlife. It's not like we're living a good life, we'll go to the underworld, a good part of Hades, or living a bad life, we'll be judged. Nothing of that sort. Epicurus was an atomist, so we are composed of atoms, and those atoms break down at death. We're materialistic in nature, and when we die, that's it. We perish. We break into parts. No part of us survives death. This sounds like Bertrand Russell's argument at the end of the chapter that our brains will not survive death, and so that there's no sense of immortality that makes sense. So Epicurus' philosophy, I think it leaves out a little bit. He did say that there's no need to worry about death. I think when you're talking about the state of death, I think he's absolutely right. If you're talking about what leads up to death or dying, this is people's worry at least as much as the state of death, probably more. They don't want to suffer. They don't want dementia. They don't want other people to have to care for them. That is to say, they don't want to be a burden. So he does not talk about that so much, although he does say that you needn't worry about that either. Right? That part of it I disagree with. But if you're talking about well-being and not having being stressed over death, then I think he has a good remedy there, not to be too anxious about the next life, because there won't be one, and so no wishing for immortality. That hope for immortality will only make you miserable. And in fact, that still, we can see, people try to keep themselves alive by having more and more procedures, taking more and more pills. This is true now more than it was 20 years ago, and it was more true 20 years ago than it was 50 years ago. We now have this life-saving technology, vents and things, heart pumps, and is it life-saving or death-preventing? People seem to be so fearful of death that they'll keep themselves alive at all costs, and psychological costs and other costs. Wipe out a good part of their life savings trying to keep themselves alive 2 more months. Is it really worth it? That's a new phenomenon, relatively speaking. It's only in the last 50 years that people avail themselves of all kinds of life-saving technology. So Epicurus would say that's a waste of time. It doesn't contribute to freedom from disturbance in the soul, and those are the twin gods again for him. Health in your body, you can argue with that. You want health, and you want freedom from disturbance in the soul. So I thought I would throw that in addition to what you have in the text there about death, and I hope to be able to talk to you again soon, and I hope that you're staying well. Nice to chat with you here. Bye.